It's a very exciting time in the human sciences. In the last 20 years, we've seen advances in how we understand decision-making, influencing, the psychology of risk, behavioral economics, behavioral change, habit formation, and much, much more. At the same time, change theory is, at best, stuck in the 1980s, and so much earlier discredited models are still in use. People slavishly follow the ideas of pop psychologists, such as Gladwell, or gurus such as Christensen, rather than thinking about whether those authors' ideas really make sense or whether they're validated by research. The second feature, in addition to these advances in the human sciences, pertains to a phrase that the U.S. Army coined to describe war zones that were much more complex and ambiguous and uncertain than they had ever seen before. They called it VUCA. The acronym stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Most change models, I think, ignore just how much things have changed in the 21st century. Let's take Shanghai. Let's look at an image from 1990. And then, next to it, let's look at an image from 2010. That incredible growth is just a representation of how much the business world is subjected to the VUCA context right now. The volatility and complexity are functions of the connectivity we see in the world today, which results from the digital revolution. So while matter, oil, cars, food, moves at the same pace as 100 years ago, information moves approximately a billion times faster. So in summary, we've seen rapid growth in our understanding of people. We've seen a VUCA business context, but we see change management still, in my view, in the previous century. And so, those three features were my motivation for writing The Science of Organizational Change. There are three sections: change agility, change strategy, and change tactics. The concept of change agility argues that we should discard the notion of change management, that the very notion of change management arises from a lack of change leadership in business. Imagine, if you will, leaders who inspire their followers, leaders who communicate the big picture, leaders who help resolve conflict, and leaders who help support people through the difficult times of change. Would you need specialist change managers? I believe the concept should be discarded and replaced with change leadership and change agility. So in my view, one of the things I suggest in the book is that great change leaders set out to design and lead organizations that are flexible, agile, responsive, disruptive, and nimble. To illustrate these points, the book uses the latest research, but also examples from IBM, from Google, Nokia, and Shell, to illustrate many of the features of the agile organization. The second section, change strategy, suggests that no amount of good change management can fix a broken strategy, and looks at a family of decision-making errors that leaders make when setting change strategy, and also mistakes they make in analyzing risks associated with their strategies. As I say in the book, when most people talk about change strategy, they're really talking about tactics. That is, how to get change to happen. Well, those methods aren't strategy, they're tactics. We use the latest science to make these points, but also examples from the financial crisis of 2008 and the Deepwater Horizon disaster, and asking the question, the very hard question, have we really learned anything since those disasters? The third section, change tactics, first takes a look at change mythology and the misleading information spread by pop psychology. Then it suggests 5 new research-based methods of changing behavior, which have only come to light in the 21st century. Using some of my own ideas called neo-behaviorism, I suggest that there's too much emphasis today on changing hearts and minds, and we need to change behavior. Unfortunately, most of the strategies we use to change behavior are products of early 20th century thinking, behaviorism. The book also looks at changing hearts and minds, and at new research called the backfire effect, which suggests that why our models of resistance to change might be wrong. We also visit groundbreaking applied research based on the idea of nudging, which is being tested in a variety of business and public policy contexts. In the final chapter, we talk about science and what it might mean to lead with science, that is, evidence, at the center of our leadership theories, and at the very exciting topic of evidence-based management. The provocative question is, What if we made business decisions, and public policy decisions for that matter, based on the best available evidence and not politics, vested interests, ideology, habit, custom, or myth? Senior leaders will get a new look at strategy, at risk, at projects, and at building change agile organizations. I offer practical examples, and my hope is that they'll make fewer decision-making errors that doom change from the start. I look also at quick fixes, I look at the herd bias, the sunk cost bias, and the planning fallacy that contribute to the sorts of errors that leaders make when setting change strategy. Business school professors will encounter some provocative ideas on how their thinking on change could be modified. Change experts will get exposure to the big ideas from hundreds of books, perhaps many that are outside areas where they normally read: economics, risk, neuroscience, sociology, in summary, the human sciences. In my view, the human sciences today are too dominated by ideas from psychology, and psychology is too corrupted by the media and by pop psychologists. My great hope is that the book brings some science into how we lead change and brings change management theory into the 21st century.